Okay, Fernando, how are you doing?
Um,
Oh,
it's a tough week.
tough week.
Yeah.
Have you uploaded? Do you want to look something in Google Drive? Do you want to look at? Do you have a
Yeah.
specific question before we get started,
Well,
or
mm,
we just start
I just
looking at it?
upload some words from my results and discussion, but I am still like behind.
Okay.
I use the meal plan,
Uh-huh.
the option one that you mentioned,
Okay.
but I don't know if it is well written. I mean, it's kind of complicated to organize the information. Well, at least for me.
Okay, so you divide up your sections, roles,
Uh-huh.
or assigning roles and readings.
Also, I changed a little bit of one of the research questions. I don't know if it is appropriate or not.
Okay.
Mm,
So how do, all right, I would call this assigning roles. How do, let's see,
uh-huh.
how do assigning roles affect students?
It used to the question. It used to be like how do students assign roles? But I was checking my information, and in some cases the teacher assigned the roles, and in the other case the students assign the roles. So the question was,
How about this? How are student roles, how are student roles assigned?
how are students' roles?
How
Can
are
you take it,
student
please?
how are student roles assigned when participating in literature circles? When are student roles, or how are, not when, but how are student roles assigned when participating in literature circles? So in this first section, you're going to talk about how students assign their own roles, and then maybe another section how teachers assign the roles, right?
Yeah.
So here I would say instead of roles assignation, I would say let's see, assigning roles
Uh-huh.
in reading, right? In reading or in literature circles, or you can mention literature circles since that's the
Uh-huh.
focus.
Well, if I would,
So student attitudes towards the use of roles, or student attitudes in literature circles.
students' attitudes towards the literature circles, because they work with two different kinds. One in which the teacher controls the activity,
Uh-huh.
and the other one in which they have the freedom to choose a role. And
But both were literature
yes,
circles.
yes, obviously, yes.
So maybe you can just modify this title,
Mhm.
and you can mention literature circles. Role preparation and participation.
Because in the self-evaluation, students uh, label their progress from 1 to 5, and
Okay.
they wrote if how did they feel, and there are the results. Well, some of the results, and I have talked to there.
Okay. Did the teacher say anything here?
Where?
You have a quote from a student, right? So
Uh-huh.
I guess, yeah, students were able to enrich your knowledge. Do you have a direct quote from a teacher?
I have one.
Let's see.
Um,
So I think it did, or is this from a teacher?
um,
No, this is a student. Mm. So do you have anything from a teacher in this paragraph, in this,
in that like paragraph.
yeah. Therefore, the nature services
I wrote,
teacher
uh,
asks students to get together. Each literature circle.
I got like some observations I wrote over there that what teacher made on the class, what like the actions, but no direct quotes.
So another student mentioned her preference for signing her own role. Okay, if you have, it would be nice to have you have some good evidence for students, and if you have something from the teacher about their opinion, his or her opinion about the students assigning their own roles.
Yeah, I think it is, but because I added, but maybe on the other claims paragraph, on the other paragraph about the other claims, but because I try to triangulate the information.
Yeah, you got your students,
and from the students, I get the focus group, I get the observations, the instruments.
Okay, so well, let's see. So you have, therefore, the literature. Such a woman teacher asks students to get together to 5. Each literature circle will have a different reading, she said. Is that the teacher? Each literature circle will have a different reading?
Oh, yeah, that part.
Yeah, instead of, I mean, yeah, it's kind of related, but like this information here, see if you can replace this with a quote from a teacher that said something about his or her opinion about how students choose their own rules, because that's kind of the focus of this paragraph. And this evidence is not really directly related to the topic sentence. Because the focus here is students assigning roles to their own partners. So you want to, anything that you can state, like what you observed, how they interacted when they were developing their own roles, and what the teacher said precisely about, did she think it's a good idea or a bad idea?
Yeah.
How did she plan? How did she think it went in class as far as assigning roles, that type of thing. Now, you mentioned here proficient students must be the most appropriate people to assign roles. You didn't mention anything in your evidence about if these students were proficient or not. So be careful about your discussion that you talked about, what you presented, that you don't discuss something that's not embedded in the evidence.
Mhm. Yeah.
And this is one example. So, if proficiency is something you want to talk about, or maybe you want to talk about later, fine. But provide evidence. Say this student who participated
So
was a strong student according to the teacher. See what I mean?
yeah.
And then you can talk about proficiency.
Yes. If I don't have like a very specific evidence, should I like?
Yeah, don't mention. I mean,
Okay.
don't mention proficiency if you don't have that. Say you can,
Mhm.
say something very specific about that. You're basically interpreting the evidence. And
Yes.
that's the idea. Is like just take whatever evidence you do, and you're going to be taking it in sections. So a little bit of evidence and discussion of just that little bit of evidence, and then kind of
Mhm.
continue on. So. Um, But you have the idea. You have a good structure here: evidence and discussion,
Analysis. Uh-huh.
analysis. Yeah. So that's the idea. Okay. Just be careful with trying to triangulate this,
Mhm.
and then just analyzing what you provided. Okay. This sentence here.
Mhm.
Is this evidence or is this your interpretation?
Oh, that's my interpretation, because it's between two evidence sentences.
All right. So we have three things here:
Mhm.
topic, sentence, evidence, and then analyze. Okay. So let's look at these three. In the topic sentence, the prevalent use of literature circles with English as a foreign language students develop their own voice. So students can develop their own voice,
Mhm.
their confidence,
Mhm.
and critical thinking regarding their reading and speaking abilities, even if the students do not choose their own role. That should be the main idea of this paragraph.
Mhm.
Now, there's a lot of information in that one by the
One
paragraph.
sentence.
Let's take a look at the evidence.
Mhm.
If the first time using literature circles do not know, probably they will get lost to feel the strategy did not work. Who says that? The teacher says this.
Yes, the teacher said that. Mhm.
At this point, I don't see the link between this evidence, this example,
Mhm.
and your main idea, unless you can explain it. It says here the students. The idea here is for them to develop their own voice, confidence, critical thinking, so they don't know they feel like the strategy does not work. For example, do you have a quote from a teacher that says, at first, a lot of times they don't know what to do in literature circles, but I've seen over time that they learn to work together and they sign rules and they become more used to.
Yeah.
Now you're leading into they develop their voice maybe, or developing more confidence, or developing their, say something about developing their voice confidence or critical thinking skills. One of those three. Now that's those are three things. That's you may decide later just to talk about one of those or two of those.
Uh-huh.
I mean, but you need evidence for at least
Uh-huh.
something here that you've mentioned. And this one quote as it is, maybe half of it, but we need that other half where they say, okay, it was difficult at first, but usually they get used to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's what I want to express. That if students are not guided and they're like they have the freedom but they don't know what to do, it may
Right.
be like complicated to achieve the goal, which is like,
So check, and then here it says the roles depends on the reading team, but mainly on the experience. Now,
that's
teacher did. That's your analysis, no?
well,
Or is this evidence?
that's the analysis and that's the relation to the previous sentence, well, to the evidence.
Okay. Do you see that the teacher didn't say anything about
Uh-huh.
depending on the experience of the students?
Yeah,
See what I mean?
it should be
So
like
you're saying something here, you're interpreting something that I feel that's not there in the evidence.
bias. Yeah.
Okay. So be very systematic. Say, okay, this is the topic sentence. Now I need an example. Think to yourself, for example, and look at those key words here in this topic sentence. Okay, do I have examples for that? And then when you talk about this, your discussion, make sure you are discussing the evidence. So,
Because I have some sentences, but I was like trying to keep them because at the last paragraph I plan to talk about the teacher.
okay, so as a student admits, I think I prepared the role,
Mhm.
but when so here the student's saying, I think I did well, but I would get nervous.
Mhm.
Where's the direct link to this topic sentence?
To the confidence, well, like an aspect.
Yeah, but I think I did okay, but I get nervous. Are they showing examples of confidence? For me, I don't see an example of confidence. I get nervous. I think I did okay, but I get nervous, pero no sé, como que no. Es diferente si uno dice, so I was like, at first I get really nervous, but then after I work with my classmates, I feel better.
Yeah.
Ahora sí, es un ejemplo de diciendo, ok, ya tengo más confianza. ¿Sí?
Okay.
Estoy más seguro, estoy
Yeah,
seguro.
it's supporting
Aquí
the main idea.
no está diciendo nada más
It's
diciendo,
the
me
opposite.
ponen como nervioso. ¿Sí?
Yeah.
Ahora, cuando estás trayendo obviamente, puedes trabajar cambiando primero el topic sentence o tal vez cambiar el topic sentence para ser así más dirigido a lo que estás diciendo aquí.
Sí.
Pero al final del día, pues tiene que tener así algo lineal. Sí. Sí. The student mentioned this had the freedom to choose her own role, but did not have experience working with literature circles. Okay, so there's no experience with literature circles.
Maybe the main sentence should be
certain difficulty.
restructured.
Working with different readings requires paying more attention, especially the teacher. Okay. As long as teachers forget. Okay, hasta aquí, para mí, esta información, evidencia y todo, es como la idea principal para mí es, en el principio, es difícil. Es difícil hacerlo. Como los alumnos no tienen mucha confianza cuando están comenzando con literature. Así nada más
Sí.
Y hablas de este. Ahora aquí, el maestro, para mí, no está muy relacionado. You have 20 minutes to read the worksheet later. Nada más instrucciones.
But then students
found that teachers command positive because they were. Okay, the student admits with the teacher there's more organization. All right, so hasta final aquí estás hablando de teacher intervention, pero el enfoque aquí hay que ver si vas a enfocar primero en nada más los alumnos y luego el teacher intervention. Or Pues yo, como casi todo lo que tienes es más con esta idea de es difícil comenzar haciendo algo como literature review. Mi sugerencia es enfocar en este primero. Y luego sigues ahí en otro párrafo si tú quieres meter algo sobre el maestro. Ahora tal vez, no sé, con tiempo sienten diferente los alumnos o los maestros sobre cómo está participando. Están haciendo así más, como más participación. Entonces puedes como ordenarlo como tipo like chronologically. First this happened, it was really tough, and then after they started doing this differently. Teacher's Guide is Angular. Angular part of the students to explore. Yeah. Okay, so here you say the teachers, so now you're focusing on, the thing is, students found the teacher's commands positive. The only sentence you have in this paragraph about the teacher's role is this last part, and you need to make sure that each of the ending sentences has either a linking sentence or a summary. In this case, maybe a summary sentence transition into this, and then you say the teacher's guide is a big part. So notice how you're discussing the teacher's role as being very important, but you haven't provided much evidence here, just a little bit here. And all the students really say is that the teacher provides more organization. But does that, if you try to, so maybe have another paragraph where you talk about the teacher's involvement. How does it help the students? Do you have any more quotes from students that talks about how they feel about the teacher interacting or not? How does the teacher feel about interacting? What did you observe? And then lead into this description here. Remember that one of the options is having a paragraph of evidence, paragraph of analyze, but there's nothing wrong with having maybe 2 paragraphs of evidence if you have a good third paragraph that discusses all of that. And this might be one of those cases. You could have this evidence paragraph taking out this, adding another evidence paragraph, and then a good paragraph of analyzing those 2 paragraphs.
So I may separate that information and link it to the paragraph I am focusing only on the teacher, like intervention.
Yeah, but you could say something here like, in your interpretation, is first students felt it was difficult, but with teacher interaction, this type of teacher interaction, this helps them to, whatever. And then you can maybe include any, direct citations referencing any authors that might shed light on this type of evidence.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Okay, whenever you reference chart 1, you can capitalize. Your chart 1. Now, when you bring this into Word, you might look at, it might be difficult here in Google Drive, but bring this chart up within the paragraph. It doesn't necessarily have to be at the end of the paragraph. You can bring that in and just continue the wrap paragraph around the chart. And it's pretty easy with Word. There's a way you can click on the image and you can select how you want the text to wrap around it.
Because in Google Drive, it's quite
but you can do that whenever you move it over.
Okay.
So, now, since you said in chart 1, it's not necessary to say see chart 1. No. Okay. You can do one or the other. You can just take this out or leave this, but if you do say see chart 1, see chart 2, make sure that it's like a citation, and it's inside the sentence.
Mhm.
Uh,
In that paragraph,
So-
I only have the evidence. Still.
well, in 84%, what does this refer to?
Sorry?
What does this refer to? 81%?
Oh, at the beginning of the paragraph of the results, I explained that students.
It says here, students' lack of exposure to the field and more comfortable. Okay. In chart 1, there's a summary of 14 students' individual self-evaluation in 2 different literature circles. The results demonstrate that students felt better preparing than presenting the roles of their team. By 2.7%, students demonstrated they felt slightly more comfortable. But what is this 84%? Is this?
Sorry? The 81%?
Yeah, 81.4%, you have 92%, 86%.
Oh, the thing is that I get the percentage of the first literature circle, and then I get the one of the second one.
But when you say like, what do you mean by percentage of the?
Oh, there's the summatory of all the results from the individual students, and then I divide it to get like a groupal percentage.
Okay, but
Is it clear? No.
but is this 80? But 80%, 81% of what though? What does
Oh,
this indicate?
satisfaction. Well,
Of the
let me.
okay satisfaction if they liked it.
Well, they keep it like this. How well did you prepare? From a scale from 1 to 5. 1 was like not satisfactory, and 5 was satisfactory. And then they say how do you participate, and then they
What
grade
grade did you deserve?
uh-huh,
4 out
uh-huh,
of how many?
out of
5?
5. And they say why? Because I think I participate enough.
Okay, so use a
Mhm.
scale.
No, not that one.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, use a scale. Let's say, have a scale on a scale of 1 to 5, and then the average was 4.5 or 3.2 or.
Well, I have it in here. Well, from number 1, well, the preparation, the first literature circle, the participation, and the grades. These are the like the I don't know how
Yeah,
to
so
say.
you can say first literature circle,
Mm-hmm.
and then put 3.5. Put at the top here, so scale 1 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
1 being not satisfactory, or
Mhm.
5 being satisfied, or whatever.
Mhm.
Not satisfied, not satisfied.
Mhm.
And then change this chart to reflect the scale.
Mhm.
And then you can add any information here about the Y in up here, right?
Yeah, the information about the why I play some examples
Okay.
on the evidence
All right.
paragraph.
So I'm just gonna.
Uh-huh. Because I was like in Spanish duplicando la cantidad para sacar un porcentaje del 0 al 100, pero sí está mejor como fue en un principio.
Okay. All right. So.
I'm missing the analysis elements, and that's another claim.
Same, brother.
Uh-huh. But in that case, I'm comparing the first literature circle to the second one.
But on a Likert scale, 1 to 5,
Uh-huh. Oh, no, it's
or
the same. It's like,
or no, but like, did you use a
yeah,
scale?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So maybe 2 change that also went
Mm-hmm.
with the scale.
Okay.
Okay. I think you've got the right you're on the right track. Okay, I see a definite, yeah, distinction between the results and discussion. That's a good thing. Just make sure that you continue triangulating
Mm-hmm.
and you take your information bit by bit. Just
Yeah.
small pieces, step by step, and make sure that each paragraph. Try not to put too much information into one paragraph. Keep it very simple. Only talk about one thing at a time. If you want to go chronologically at some point, fine. And then or one that builds like something that you need to know before you talk about something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in general, it's coming together. It's coming together
Okay.
well.
Okay.
Just maybe make a few modifications to your charts to make those a little bit clearer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything Anything else?
For Friday, which is the deadline at which hour?
Oh well, midnight. Yeah,
Uh,
midnight. Yeah.
yeah.
I'll start looking at them on the weekends and next week, and we'll continue. You'll still continue getting feedback from me. You'll get more feedback next week
Mhm.
once you turn in your final paper on the 22nd.
Oh, and also, what about the introduction, conclusion, and
I uploaded an announcement about going
recap?
over
Something.
recap,
Mhm.
where I talk about the introduction, conclusion, and the abstract. Basically, it's the same as what we worked on last semester in
Mhm.
applied linguistics.
Mhm.
The introduction, you want to begin with a hook. You want to talk about, then introduce the problem, the context with which your research is based. So try to include 1 or 2 citations that reference that cite the problem that you are investigating. So remember, your whole research is based on some sort of problem that you want to investigate. The last sentence of your introduction paragraph should be your thesis statement. That's the one general idea
Of the
of the
introduction.
entire paper. Approximately 250 words, 1 or 2 paragraphs, depending. Now the conclusion, you're going to restate the thesis statement, reword it, but say basically the same idea. And the conclusion now will be a little bit different than what you worked on in your literature review. You want to try to incorporate the past, present, and future in your conclusion paragraph. So once you've restated the thesis statement, review, generalize, or summarize your literature review very briefly,
Mhm.
just the couple of main points. Summarize your findings, that's the present. So the literature is the past. The present is your summary of your findings. And the future is where you can recommend further research. Well, how can someone take your research or what you've found and extend that into a different research area?
Mhm.
Okay. You can also include in the future any final recommendations that you have based on your discussion. Okay. Now,
Mhm.
the abstract is the only paragraph that does not have an indentation. All of the paragraphs have a half-inch indentation. The abstract should be approximately 150 to 250 words. And think of the abstract as including essentially all the aspects of the research. So I would begin with your problem
Mhm.
and then go into the method, the purpose of your research. So you talk about the participants, the instruments, and the procedure.
Mhm.
And then you follow that with your findings. With your findings. So again, all of that within just 150 to 250 words. Think of the abstract as being a paragraph that someone can read to get the general idea to see whether or not they want to read the entire article or not. It's a summary of your entire work.
Mhm.
Okay. And so you take a look at the video too. I described it a little bit more, slightly more detail, but essentially that's what we can work on next week.
There's a deadline for this.
The deadline for this is May 22nd. That is the deadline for your entire, because this is the only thing that's left.
Mhm.
So after your results and discussion, this will finalize your paper.
Mhm.
And so we need it I need it in my hand at one printed copy of your literature by 2 o'clock or before, preferably before 2 p.m. here in my office.
Okay.
Okay? And so, yeah. That'll take us up to May 22nd. You know when you're going to present your
Yeah.
mock.
Thursday from the second week
Okay.
is June 2nd, I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
And don't forget your reflection that's due this week. And
This week there's another reflection.
wait, is there one this? I know,
No.
sorry, there's not. No, there's not a reflection this week.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So
Thank you, teacher.
you're welcome, and we'll see you then next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy Teacher's Day.
Oh, thank you. All right.
Nice.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Should I keep the door open? Or?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.